So, hi everyone. We have with us here Mr. Ignasi Salvador. He's from Aquiles Solutions and here with us today to speak on optimization of supply chain using artificial intelligence. So, welcome, Mr. Salvador.
Thank you.
And we have already, as we've all heard your case study, and it was an interesting one. To be honest, I already saw part of it a few days ago, and it was even at the first sight interesting. But when combined in a conference setup, because we have the Q&A and everything, so the discussion becomes more intriguing. So I, for myself, really enjoyed it. And how was your experience, if you would like to share in a couple of words?
Well, I mean the experience was quite nice. I think being able to explain what we see with some of our customers and explain what the challenges are on the supply chain and how this can be solved with AI. I think it's nice to show it because there are not many examples of that. And what I could see is that after the talk we got some questions and say, okay, how did you do that, or is this applicable to this situation?
Right.
And I think that's these conferences are always helping, because many times it's the talk that you have in the coffee that actually brings you some
Right.
connections. So it was good. Yeah.
Yeah, like they say, in your most relaxed moments, you have your best ideas. So something
Yes.
like that over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Well, I think when you are there, it's easier for everybody just to share,
True.
some ideas. Whereas when it's more like a remote thing, it makes it more complex, I think.
Yeah, definitely. As it was explained by the speaker from Oracle, the final presentation, and I could totally resonate with her thoughts because we have seen a lot of virtual conferences happening around the world during COVID, but definitely the benefits that one can seek from that were limited to a great extent.
Yeah.
We can look at a lot of benefits from the other side of it, that we can do it from the comfort of our homes, but definitely when you come here as a person on a live event, then you actually see what advantages it has over the virtual one.
Yeah.
And in many cases, they are massive.
Yep.
So, as I understand, you are the digital and innovation specialist at Aquiles Solutions. So, what's your key responsibility in this role, and what exactly Aquiles Solution does, or in what areas does it specialize in?
Okay, well, I'll start for the end so I can explain then what I'm doing there.
Sure.
Basically, Aquiles is developing tailor-made solutions, software solutions based on AI for manufacturing companies. And my role there as an innovation and digital specialist is to help our customers understand what's possible and help them see which would be the right steps to take to actually implement that and actually basically build a business case for them. So to see, okay, usually many times I do, I visit the customers, I spend one day on their factory, look at the different things and talk to them and then say, oh, there's an opportunity here. You probably can, solve that by doing this or that. And then we just put together the project together with them and understand really, tell them what they can achieve with it and set expectations and then coming up with a proposal.
So, you spoke about AI during your case study, and my next question is going to be about AI. So, as a participant of the industry, we all keep seeing there are like massive applications for artificial intelligence, and also it's like a multifaceted solution. And we see the application of AI on various fronts, such as predictive maintenance, improving of efficiency, reducing cost, etc. So there has to be a certain demarcation somewhere in the, or for example, you describe as layers of the AI. So if you would like to talk a little bit more about on the same layers again.
Yeah, okay. Well, basically, I mean, to apply AI, you can have it at different levels. And the important thing is that you need to know where you want to go, see which is the final picture you want to build, which probably has a lot of layers. But then you need to take like 5 steps back and say, okay, where's my situation now? Where should I start? And probably one of the first places where you start is automating and optimizing a specific process. And that has usually a direct impact on cost, on delivery times, or it depends on what you wanna do. But you can take one process and optimize that through the use of AI. Now, usually when you put that piece into the puzzle, that enables you to put the next one. So that could be like another process which is interconnected, and then you start automating longer processes, which are connected and
Right.
allows you to, at the end of the day, build the whole ecosystem that you want to come with that intelligent system that you're trying to build.
Right. So instead of like spending massive amounts of time, funds in sort of defining the process of AI, where to start or where to end, and how to, how to define the specific steps in the process, for example. So your idea is rather you start somewhere and then you would have some sort of data collected out of that based on your progress and then start to connect the rest of the pieces of the puzzles, like you said. So it's basically like playing a Sudoku or
Yeah.
you just start somewhere and then you start to connect everything together.
Yeah. Well, you need to have, of course, a general plan, an idea where the whole thing will end up. But then you need to see, okay, where you are now, how you're going to start and from which point, and then solve that specific one. And again, for example, with a data lake, I always recommend the same. It's build the data lake you need for the project that you are building now. And don't try to build a data lake for everything, because it's going to take you years and you will see no value. So take one use case where you can deliver value in 2-3 months, and you probably have built part of the data lake that you need. And then when you take the next step, you will just complement that data lake. So then, at the end of the day, you build what you want, but you do it on smaller steps that add value each time you deliver a part of the project.
And I think this kind of process also during the current industry base, I think this process makes more sense, because if you go for something that is more on like a large scale, and if you try to build some large scale system, by the time you finish building it, it could happen that you are a little bit even behind the industry because it's moving at such a fast pace. So yeah, totally agree with this idea that you presented. So if we talk about Aquiles Solutions or the challenges that you have seen, for example, in one of your clients or any companies that you come in touch with, what have you seen in the traditional supply chains in your experience? What are the problems, and if there would be any key ways to avoid them in the future?
Well, in terms of problems that we are trying to solve, what we are seeing a trend this last year. A lot has to do with sourcing, because of all these problems we have now with sourcing materials. But this ends up on a problem of forecasting your sales. So that's something that we are seeing more and more over the last months. Then in terms of implementation of these projects, I think one of the biggest problems is the buy-in from the stakeholders internal that need to run that. So they need to understand that that's a project that is adding value. So where we see success is when we speak with the for example, the chief operation officer from a company. He has a clear idea of what he wants to do. Then his managers agree with that, and then we start. Now the problem we find many times is when that comes from IT only, or it comes from the top, but nobody really that are operating that feel that that's a problem. Usually that ends up on problems after implementation. And then a small thing we find all the time is that usually customers have an idea of what they want. You build that, and through the process of building that, some new requirements come in, and they realize that okay, that was not exactly what they needed. Okay, then you tweak it. But the good thing is that then it becomes a dynamic thing, because then that's the first step to actually extend the system and start building, as you were saying, other pieces that are connected. So that seems to be a problem. It's finally not a problem, because it's just them realizing that this is adding value, but they want to get more value. Of course. At the beginning, they might think, okay, this is not possible. You show them that's possible, and then they say, okay, fine, now I get it, but can you do
that for me?
That for me, an extra thing, no?
Right. Okay. So, as we see, Aquiles Solutions, it's a company that deploys advanced solutions at all scales and business verticals. So, would you like to talk about a specific challenge that you solved in the business, and how, or if that improved the capability of your company as a solution provider?
Yeah. Okay. Well, one of the challenges we solved, which was quite, for me, was quite interesting, is a company that needed to identify a better way to arrange the packets that they were putting on a pallet. They were doing that with robot, and that robot just started to have some. That was not smart enough to put all the boxes in the right place. So then we did an algorithm that actually is interacting with robot to improve the way that the robot is operating. And that's something that many times people don't think of. So you have an automated warehouse and you have a robot that is doing the picking, but it's not doing it optimally. So that was something that we were doing, and of course this enables us also now to start interacting more with robots as such, where we can already interact with them to them. Okay, now you do this or you do that. This is one of the projects we did this year.
I see. So actually, it's good that you mentioned in the previous answer about sales forecasting, because it's an interesting way. There's an interesting way to look at it, because it's like about you go at the very first stage, which is buying or trying to predict what are the orders that I should place, and directly it's connected with the final node in the entire process. And nobody actually talked about it today. You're probably mentioning it at the first time. And it was quite interesting, even in the beginning, how to plan your upcoming years, as it was mentioned by Mr. Israel from Norson. And he was mainly talking about how to place your orders, and how to sort of understand what your needs are, and try to be doing all of that in advance, try to know really in time now. So, and of course, like, problems will keep happening if you think it realistically for the coming, maybe, like he mentioned, even it would be like modest to expect that in 2022 these problems would be gone. They're here to stay probably for quite long. So I think it could be interesting to see in that area how the predictability is, it's created, and how the processes are optimized when it comes to placing orders with the providers of the solution or the parts. In his case, it was wafers. So it's just a way to look at it. So this was one of my intriguing things at the summit. The presentation about these raw materials. But what was yours today's? Like, what were your key takeaways from the summit?
Well, I think one thing that was repeated many times is that any of these projects, it's a transformation project. It's a cultural transformation for the team. And I think over the last years, this has been somehow forgotten. There's not been enough attention to really helping the organization to work on a different way. And that implies people, and that needs to be done in a proper way. It's not a technological project. And we're also telling the customers that we work with is we cannot solve this alone. This is, I mean, you need to put time. We need to put time.
Of course.
We need to train your people. Your people needs to be trained on how things are and so on. And that, I think, what I feel is that now, at least today, the audience, it was quite clear that any project that has to do with this requires like change management. Which is something that sometimes was not that, or it was mentioned, but it was not like one of the key pieces. No, but now it's like it's becoming more and more clear that if that's not done properly, the project doesn't work. No.
Well, change management and culture transformation, aren't they the key things to work upon when it comes to operational excellence and digital transformation? I think they are. And it was quite proved after some of the talks today, but I do agree with you, it was not really talked about that much in vastness of it. But probably this could be an interesting topic next year in the next summit. And in the challenge, the key challenge that you mentioned with one of your clients about robotics, did you get the opportunity to suggest them about looking at the people itself, and also suggesting them some sort of cultural changes which probably in turn affects the capability of robotics section as well?
Well, not in this case, because this was a robot which was already working autonomously. So it was just so for us, and for them, it was more an efficiency thing rather than introducing a robot, because the robot was already there. They had been working with it for years, and now it was a matter to make it smarter so it could actually deliver better results than what it was doing.
totally agree. So thank you for sharing your thoughts, and we are really, really happy you joined us over here today, and much happier because you are taking some key learnings from the summit. So hopefully, when you join us next year, you get better learnings, even better learnings. So that was Mr. Ignasi Salvador from Aquiles Solutions.
Thank you.
Thank you.